All right, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and pay our respects to them, their culture, and their elders past, present, and future. My guest Tim and I are joining this meeting on the lands of the Wurundjeri Wurrung and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. And good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another one of our live demos. Tim Hunter, our head of client experience, is joining us again today to walk us through how to really maximize your campaigns using the revamped SwiftFox email builder. So welcome back, Tim.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be back, Lucy.
So as a campaigning platform, obviously, emails are a really powerful tool when it comes to how our clients interact with their contacts in SwiftFox, be it with their members, their donors, or their supporters. And I think we've all come to know emails as a tool that can convey your campaign message in a really effective and a really visual way as well. If you haven't used an email builder before, it's worth thinking of this as an easy way to send personalized emails to a group of your contacts all at once.
Yeah, the email builder certainly is at the heart of what many of our clients are using SwiftFox for. And no matter what industry you're in, it certainly doesn't seem as if email campaigning is going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, and there's been some really exciting changes to the look and feel of SwiftFox emails, as well as some new functions of the design tools as well. So we really recommend making the most of these so that your email campaign is as engaging as possible. So what we're going to do today is essentially give you a quick overview of what you can use this email builder to do. Now, Tim, a pain point that I've found in the past with using other email builders is that I've been having to test my emails on a wide array of email clients, devices, browsers. Have you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so obviously there are so many different ways of viewing an email these days, be it on a laptop, a mobile, different devices will all interpret emails differently. In addition, there's then browsers which will interpret emails differently, as well as the email client itself. So emails on Gmail can sometimes look quite different to Outlook, for example. So what we've built within the SwiftFox email builder is a new rendering engine, which basically ensures that whatever you design is going to look as close to what people will actually receive as possible, no matter what they're using. And I think when you factor in all of the different combinations of ways that you can view an email, there's something like 15,000. And so naturally, to your point, Lucy, sending 15,000 different test emails and making sure that everything looks A-OK on all those different devices would take you a long time. But with this rendering engine, we can be sure that what we see is what our recipients get.
And is that the same with mobiles as well?
Yeah, so when it comes to mobiles, there's two core sort of elements. There's making sure that by default, all of our emails are going to be mobile responsive. And so within the email builder itself, for example, things will shift to make sure that they look beautiful on a mobile. In addition, we let you choose now how these changes will appear on a mobile. So if I take the column block, for example, really easy to use, you just drag in a column block wherever you'd like to add in, say, 2 bits of content side by side, or you might want 3 columns all side by side, for example. You can now come into the mobile display section, and this will let you choose, do you want to be displaying this content side by side, or should we be displaying, say, for example, this text on the left above the GIF on the right, or vice versa? Or do we want the mobile view to be very, very similar to how it is now, but just shrunk down? And so this is about giving users the flexibility to choose how their content is going to look on a mobile.
Yeah, this is awesome because it can be very nerve-wracking to send out an email blast full stop. So I think everyone will be very pleased to hear that they can have the peace of mind that everyone is viewing the email in the way that they want them to see it. So what else is new as part of these new upgrades, Tim? I can see that there are some small changes to the rich text editor.
So the rich text editor Yeah, there's a few cool bits in here. So firstly, from a usability perspective, we've now placed all of the settings at the top. So it's really easy for you to be able to see, okay, what font you're using, what size, colors, bold, underline, orientations, and text heights and those types of things at the top. But what we've also added in are some cool new features in terms of hyperlinks. So as you'd expect, we can easily link our contacts to a hyperlink that's going to take them to a website, for example. But what we've now added are the file and the email option. So if we want to give our contacts the opportunity to download a newsletter securely from the SwiftFox online storage, you can upload a file into your hyperlink, and then when they click that, it's going to download for them. What we've also added is this email option. So here's where we can add, say, an email address, a little bit of a subject line, and some message body. When someone receives this email and clicks this link, it'll open in, say, Outlook or Gmail, whichever email client they're using, an email that's ready to go. It'll have the to email address already added in. It'll have the message subject line there so that you know, oh, cool, this one is about a webinar that we sent a link to. As well as we can even add in that first line of the email, like, you know, hi team, would love some more information on this. Warm regards, such and such. So yeah, a lot of cool options in the rich text settings.
Awesome. And just on the topic of the rich text editor, just for those who perhaps haven't seen our Swift Predict webinar, how could they use this to help them during that email building process?
Great question. So if we drag in the Swift Predict block into the email, we can then use this to have a first draft at generating some text for us. So for example, if we're hitting a bit of a blank wall, or we need to get an email out the door quickly, we can put in a prompt. So we might say, for example, draft an email for our clients, letting them know about our new CRM, SwiftFox. This is then going to send just this exact prompt. It's not like we're exposing all of the client's database to OpenAI or anything. It's going to send just this prompt over to ChatGPT. That's going to have a first crack at generating this email for us. And we can then view, this is a nice first attempt. Inevitably, there'll be a number of changes that we'll want to make before we send anything that's been generated by AI out the door. But if we scroll down, we can then copy to Canvas. This is then all added in just as text, and we can make any changes that we want. We can add any merge fields to this prior to sending it.
Yeah, it's a really powerful tool. I know it definitely helps me a lot if I have one of those days where I've got a bit of writer's block. So it's very, very handy. And if you are a SwiftFox user, you'll know that a lot of the emails you do receive from us do come from me. So just a personal tip, I would recommend during this designing process, actually saving it as a template. So that way you don't have to start from scratch, and you can just ensure that your emails are looking really consistent across the board as well. Tim, could you just show how easy it is to actually do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So once we've designed up an email that we're happy with, and we think, oh, geez, this would make a great template, we can hit this button. This then brings out the template browser. So for example, if we're starting from a blank canvas, we could load in one of our previously saved templates. So I've got a newsletter template here ready to go. But I may want to use this one as, say, my alerts. Alerts template moving forward. I can hit save, and then I can easily come back into here and pick up that template the next time I go to send an email.
Yeah, and as you've been going through the different blocks, I see we now have a few different padding options as well.
So if I come into something that's got some padding added here, and I scroll down, you'll see that I can choose to say apply padding to all sides. I might want to pick a consistent amount of padding and I want that around all 4 sides, or I can select the exact padding top, bottom, left or right, for example. So I might say 25 here. And then this is going to increase the padding just here, for example.
Awesome. So say we started creating this beautiful email, but now we want to make sure that we're making it quite personalized as well. We do advise everyone use merge fields for this, like we've done here, but what happens if, say, one of your SwiftFox contacts doesn't have a first name?
Yeah, so in terms of the merge fields, you can easily add these by either typing the @ symbol. So if I wanted to add a merge field here, for example, and this will bring up the list of available options. Most of these are going to be, to your point, Lucy, stuff like first name. There'll also be any options that are specific to your organization SwiftFox setup. So if there's, say, a key date, or if there's a member number or a client number, whatever the case may be, that's a compatible custom field, we can bring that in here. You can also add them in anywhere there's text in the email, or by hitting the merge fields button. And this is that exact same list here as well. 2 options for adding the fields themselves. In terms then of where there are those occasional blanks in your data, you can hit the edit merge fields button here when we're not in any of the blocks themselves. And here we can then set what that fallback text is going to be. So if someone doesn't have a first name saved on their SwiftFox profile and we just have, pardon me, an email address for them, we could set that the fallback is going to be members or friends or whatever we would want to use, so that we don't have to have that embarrassing blank for them in their inbox.
Yeah, definitely handy to have that backup. So another pain point that personally I've experienced with other email builders in the past is, you design up your email, but then when you actually see it in your inbox, it's actually appearing quite skinny, quite narrow. So is this something that I might also experience with the SwiftFox emails? Is it already set to default, or can I actually customize that width a little bit?
Great question. So if I hop out and I come again to this sort of screen here, you'll see the blocks, and here's where I can easily be dragging and dropping any blocks. We then also have this style section here. So there's a number of little bits and pieces you may want to have a look at in here. So for example, the enable view in browser link is going to be on by default, and I'll show you that in a second. We can here set the width of the canvas, and so this is going to be the maximum width of the email canvas. On an iPhone, this is naturally going to be brought in but on a big 4K monitor, this is then going to appear wider. We can go up to 800 pixels here. That's the highest that we feel is safe to use. But you can certainly, if you did want a very, very slim vibe, you could certainly bring it down even further if you wanted. There's also these 2 options here. So I might just demonstrate these while we're on this screen too. If I select the body background color, and we went with very dark black, for example, this is going to be the color that is on the sides of the canvas. The canvas itself, we may want to set, and Lucy, forgive me, here on the comms team, you'd probably dislike my choices here potentially. But if I now hit preview, this view in browser link is going to automatically default to a color that is readable on the background. So for example, if we've got a very light background, this is going to go black. Likewise, if we've chosen a dark background, it's going to go white, so that your readers will be able to definitely make out this text. And if I click this link, this is going to open the email as it's been designed, but in a browser. And so if your contacts are having issue reading your email, loading in pictures, for example, if they've got a slow internet connection or whatever the case may be, they can click that link and easily see the email as it was designed. But I'm assuming probably not with a black and dark purple backgrounds.
Yeah, maybe not. But I think the good thing about some of these different upgrades as we've been going through them is that, we do have our inboxes flooded with emails every day. So it's small details like these ones that can really mean the difference between someone actually reading your email and someone that's not going to read it. And I think when we look at the benefits of actually using SwiftFox to execute your emails, data-driven insights are really, really important, particularly for the continued success of a campaign as well. So say I've sent my email, Tim, how can I then see who's clicked it, who's opened it, etc.?
Great question. So there's three places where we would be able to easily report on that information, if you will, for now. The first is going to be once the email is sent. So if I come back to my emails home screen, you'll see that some of these are going to be draft emails. Some of these may say scheduled if they're yet to go out the door. Once an email does go out the door, the status will be flipped to completed. Any emails that we then click in where the status is completed are going to take us to our campaign dashboard here. So this is where we can see the overall campaign performance. We can see, our open rates, our click-through rates, percentage of people who have, say, updated their email preferences or unsubscribed. The email itself, I can scroll through, and again, I'm sure you would come up with something a lot more beautiful than I've done here, Lucy, but I could then view the email that was sent out in a drawer. I can then scroll down and I can see a list. This one's a pretty lonely list, but this is going to be every person that we have attempted to send the email to. Did they open it or not? Did they click on it or not? I can easily search for a particular domain. So if I search for Speedstar, for example, this is going to be everyone with that particular domain. So I may want to see how everyone at a particular organization responded to a campaign. Or I may want to say filter for all of the people where the status of the email was delivered or opened or whatever the case may be. So that's one of the ways that we can easily get a sense of how an individual campaign has performed. On the individual profiles of all of the people who we sent the email to, we'll also show a post to show how they engage with the campaign, as well as on the Insights tab, you'll be able to see how they've overall responded to the emails that we've been sending them. The third way that we can easily see this information is in our Cool Dashboards tool. And so here is where we can have, for example, an easy dashboard that shows over all of the emails that we've sent over the last year, what is our unsubscribe rate looking like? How many emails have we sent? How many have we got ready to go? How are we going in terms of getting campaigns out the door each month? And then we may want to report on who has been sending the most emails. So no surprises that you're currently in the lead here, Lucy.
And if I wanted the SwiftFox team to set this up as a dashboard for me, how would I go about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of these we've got really easy to use dashboards ready to go. But we can then additionally make changes that are needed to these for our clients over the journey. If you just want to reach out to our support team, we'll be able to set up the dashboards that you need.
Perfect. Yeah, I think being able to measure the success of an email campaign just with a quick glance like that makes it just that much more of a powerful tool. So it's great. So Tim, before we do head to our audience questions, would you be able to just quickly touch on how we can also use the recipient stepper to further personalize our email campaign?
So if I hop into my email again that I was designing before, in the recipient step is where we're going to add in certain key bits of information. So it's where we're going to choose which list of people. So we might want to go into the list builder and create a list of all people who have had a failed payment in the last month, or all clients who we've done a particular amount of business with, whatever targeting criteria we want to use. And we can then easily attach that list here. Then there's some key details that we're going to need to add. So the sender name, for example, we may want to send this campaign so it looks and feels as if it's come from me, or in our case, often we'll send them from your your details, Lucy. But we can also opt to send from the stakeholder leader name and email address for every contact in your campaign. So by selecting these, if I'm your stakeholder leader and you receive this email, it's going to look and feel as if it's come from me. You then also have the ability to select the reply to email address. So if we're sending out, say, a big email blast from the CEO's email, we maybe don't want 101 out of office replies and people wanting to then engage in conversation going straight into the CEO's inbox. And so we can select the reply to email address, or alternatively, we can use the same email that we're sending from for replies. And so this is a way of just making your really mass outbound campaigns look and feel as if they've come from an actual person rather than just a generic marketing email address. And this has been something that we've seen has how many people really increase their open, their rates and their engagement rates with the content that they're sending out.
Great, thanks for that, Tim. And shout out to our team because the UI UX just looks really amazing and user-friendly as well, which is great. So we might turn to some audience questions now before we do wrap things up. So Tim, is there an API or integrations available to connect the email builder with other marketing tools?
Absolutely. So our philosophy is that we want to provide you with all of the tools that you need in the one spot so that you don't need to have a disparate array of, a different text messaging platform, a different calls platform, et cetera, which is why we've added so many of those other core campaigning features straight into SwiftFox. So for example, we can easily be sending out text messages and even having replies back and forth with our contacts. We can be managing events such as this webinar through SwiftFox. We can be sending out forms and receiving form responses, as well as managing big call lists as well. But we do understand, of course, that there are going to be times where there may be some specialized tools that you need to connect in with SwiftFox as part of managing a campaign, which is why we've got an open API where our clients can connect SwiftFox to any other platforms they've got. In addition, there's a number of tools that we're connected to out of the box, like Zoom, for example. And there's some really cool options with the Zapier integration that we've got, where you can be setting up automations and connecting in tools to SwiftFox at a moment's notice as well.
Awesome. And now we have a few questions around the topic of unsubscribes. The first one being, will unsubscribes automatically be removed from my list? And I think this kind of answers another one that's come in, which is if we'd like to create a few different mailing lists that people can sign up to, could we offer for people to unsubscribe just from one list and not another one?
Great question. So the way that SwiftFox works is that we can send an email to anyone who's in our database by design. So for example, we could have a form on a website that then uses some custom fields, and one of those custom fields might be a mailing list custom field that's got, say, 5 different options of services or options that people may want to choose to opt in for. Then we can build our list within the list builder that meets the criteria for the specific campaign. Then as people receive the email, in the bottom of the email for our marketing emails, we're going to have an unsubscribe link. When people click on this, it's going to take them to the Manage Email Preferences page. So this is one I designed earlier, but you can completely customize the look and feel of this page yourselves. So we'd be honored, but you probably wouldn't want to have our logo here, for example. You can then select the different campaign tags that you want to be opting out of from here. So those are set in the campaign categories section, where I may want to have different options that people can choose to opt out from. And then when we're sending the email, the way that we've built SwiftFox is that in the campaign step, you'll pick which category of campaign this one is going to be, so marketing, events, or if it's an internal campaign, it might be newsletters. If we select marketing and someone has opted out of marketing but is still going to be receiving newsletters, for example, then they won't get this particular email. And that's without you needing to maintain a separate suppression lists and be uploading lists to be excluding from this campaign. It's all just handled for you. And we want to make it as easy as possible for our clients to make sure that they are compliant with the Spam Act, while at the same time being able to send out as many different campaigns and reach as many different people as possible.
Yeah, awesome. And just another one on the topic of unsubscribes. So is that unsubscribe message automatically set, or can they choose what the opt-out message will be?
Yeah, they can choose exactly what that opt-out message is going to look and feel like. So this says unsubscribe, but I may want to say manage your preferences. This is essentially text. You can put whatever you want in here. So you could say manage your preferences rather than unsubscribe, for example. And you may not want it all to be underlined. You may want to use different fonts, colors, all of those various things. And so this message can be whatever you want it to be. But at the end of the day, it then points to this form where, again, you can choose exactly how this page looks as well. So you can personalize this message also. So rather than manage your email communications from SwiftFox, you may want to change this wording, these fonts, etc., to all be on brand for your organization.
Awesome. And a final question here, which I can take, which is there a limit to how many tests I can do? Absolutely not. You can do as many tests as you would like. We would definitely recommend doing that. And you can send them to as many people as you would like as well. If you do happen to sort of schedule an email for the afternoon and you do realize in that time there is a spelling mistake or something along those lines, you can always hit the unschedule button as well and quickly fix that up. But definitely recommend doing a few tests before you send out your campaign. But thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. And Tim, I really appreciate your time. It's been great having you back for another one of our live demos.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, Lucy.
No worries. And as always, the live recording of this will be up on our website very shortly. And if you do have any questions when you are using SwiftFox emails, you can always get in touch with our friendly team at support@swiftfoxcrm.com. Thanks, everyone.
It's